The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Melanated Politics. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Eric Clark.
And I'm David Harper. And today, the topic of today, should black people trust Democrats? Should black people trust Democrats? Please call in to 323-293-3375. Again, that's 323-293-3375. Now, Eric, should black people trust Democrats?
I say verify, then trust. No more benefit of the doubt. Just for the record, David, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not an independent. I specifically vote for candidates that are actually worthy. I mean, politically speaking, I just vote for particular Democrats. What about you?
Well,
what do you think? What do you think? Do you think that black people should trust the Democrats?
Okay, so here's my thing. I do feel that black people, the black community, should trust the Democrats to the extent of holding their feet to the fire, because the Democratic Party has the most of our issues on their platform, and I understand where people are coming from when they don't trust the Democratic Party. I do, because it's not like the Democratic Party. The history of the Democratic Party has been friendly to black people. It hasn't. Even when you go back to JFK and Colin Coretta Scott King,
yes,
you know, he wasn't in love with black folks. He did it because he was on that political borderline. He didn't want to lose Southern voters, but at the same time, he knew that Dr. King was making such a stir that someone had to say something. Nixon didn't make the call. JFK made the call. So black folks got on board to the Democratic Party. Fast forward to where we are now, where the majority of the Democrats are diverse. While the Democrats are getting more diverse, you have 54 black members of Congress. 54. 53 of them are Democrats. There's one, Will Hurd, a Republican. He's the only one that's not that's not on board. Mia Love got voted out. So you have 53 Democrats. You have more women. You have more Asian. You have more Latinos. You have more of a reflection of the country. But bottom line, you have more of us.
But the issue is there's so much fighting within the Democratic Party. Will there be free health care for all Americans as a right? Free community colleges for all Americans as a right. I mean, the establishment Democrats, they disagree with that. But your so-called, quote unquote, Democratic socialist and far left-leaning Democrats, some who've just gotten elected, minimum wage raised $15 per hour nationwide. I mean, there's so many things that right now that Democrats, CBC, as well as Democratic establishment Republicans, whether that's the House Speaker right now, Nancy Pelosi, or whomever else in that establishment circle, there's disagreement right now regarding the Democrats. So,
I mean, you're going to have disagreement. I mean, that's just how it is. That's the especially right now. Right now, post President Obama, you're going to have this turmoil in the Democratic Party. Not turmoil. Turmoil isn't the right word. It's more of a shifting. It's more of a realigning, because you have people in this country who may be used to black people, who may be a little bit, somewhat used to Latinos, depending on where you live. If you're in California or if you're in New York, East Coast and West Coast, yeah, you're going to see more black and brown, so there's a little bit more of an introduction. But when you go further into the middle of the country, you have more separation. We're trying to figure out how's this going to work. The party right now, where the CBC is, where the black leadership is, you see the Congressional Black Caucus, and you see Democrats, center, left, pulling at each other. But that's just only natural.
But in comparison to Republican loyalty and the fact that they've stood by Donald Trump, even now they're fictitious fabrications. Okay, Democrats are considered weak. Not perception is not always reality, but at the same time, perception is reality. So, according to Democratic activists, according to Democratic donors, according to just so many different Democrats, independents, just a lot of Americans in general, according to the tactics of the Democrats, and I'm not saying being unethical, but Democrats are considered weak. Democrats haven't even been able to come to any type of agreement regarding their core issues and values and how they move forward going into 2019. And also, regarding 2019, we will be discussing most of the issues, a lot of the issues regarding how politics affects the black community going into 2019. That's what Melanated Politics is all about. To our viewers out there, thank you so much again for tuning in. And when we say politics, we define that as war without bloodshed. So, as I said, the Democrats, they're perceived as being weak. There are a lot of Democrats who I do support individually, so many. They're doing a great job, and I'm confident that they will continue to do that.
Well, this is the best analogy I can give about the Democrats and the Democratic Party. The Democrats are like, especially starting off, getting into politics. The Democrats was the friend that borrow like $10 from you. Then after they borrow $10 from you, they say, "Hey, can you give me a ride somewhere?" And after you give them a ride somewhere, they're like, "Hey, can you buy me lunch?" And after you buy them lunch, it's like, "Hey, do you mind if can we go out and go fishing? You buy the pole. Can we go play basketball or whatever?" And it's like everything's on you, and that's how it feels. But
I get that. But most black people are saying, "Can I get that money back?"
And you know what? But politically speaking, and that's fine
from a policy perspective.
From policy, you are absolutely right. So let's go to the policy perspective. President Obama put the order out. It wasn't an executive order. He put out basically policy to let nonviolent offenders be freed from jail. And he got that ball rolling. There's been no other president to do that. Every other president's been locking mostly black people up. And because that's the nature of America. Democrat, Republican, all around, which is understandable. And we'll get deeper into that later in the show. But at the same time, you see that friend evolve.
Yes.
You see that person evolve. That person that asked you money is all saying, "Okay, what do you need now? How about I give you a ride somewhere? You know what? I see this is wrong." And this is the big test where Democrats are now, because this is the most diverse body of the Democrats in history. And we're really about to see, especially now with Donald Trump in office, what are they going to do?
But look, we have elaborated on different reasons why there's infighting within the Democratic Party. There's disagreements and not cohesiveness. Regarding certain members of the CBC and Democratic establishments in the U.S. House of Reps. We get that, but still, one of the main issues that there is disagreement on, David, is impeachment.
Impeachment. To impeach or not to impeach?
To impeach or not to impeach.
Okay.
That's the question.
To impeach or not to impeach. And I've seen people do this. You've seen Maxine Waters talk about impeachment. You've seen Ocasio-Cortez talk about impeachment. You hear different people speak of impeachment. But here's the bottom line. Where the Democrats are trying to seem measured is for parts of the country that want them to be measured. For them going hard and saying, "Hey, look, I need Trump's tax returns. I need to see interview more people about his past. I want to know more about Russia. I want to know more about his shady business practices." That's where you have to go hard, because at the end of the day, here's the best way to put it: the Democratic Party. There's people that feel like it doesn't move fast enough. Sometimes there's people that feel it moves too fast. Some people feel like it moves too slow. But bottom line, it's moving. And as long as it's moving towards a better solution on our community, as long as it moves towards a better solution on getting Trump out of office, as long as it moves towards a better solution of solving these problems, there's a split.
There's a split between Should the Democrats get behind other Democrats that are currently pushing to impeach the current president of the United States, Donald Trump? There's a current push for that. There's a split.
And I think
one of the first members of Congress from Texas, Al Green, he was one of the first to actually push for the impeachment of Donald J. Trump.
Well, I think the impeachment process, like it's obvious he needs to be impeached, but there's still a process, and we're not going to do it like the way the Republicans did it during Bill Clinton's presidency, where they basically impeached him over fellatio, over him lying about fellatio. This is impeaching someone over working with a foreign agent, of basically, giving money or receiving money from Russians, from Russia. And that's different. That's different than anything else. So, yeah, they should impeach, but they should also get on the Republicans who have said nothing.
Sides have been picked. People have picked sides. There is people that are dug in that are just extremely loyal to Donald Trump. Extremely loyal. If you even speak about impeaching Donald Trump, he has supporters come out. They're dug in. They have a narrative that's basically false, but they're dug in, and they're very loyal to this guy. So that's one of the reasons why. There's so many reasons why, in my opinion, Democrats. There's so many Democrats that refuse to address or support even the ideal of impeaching Donald Trump. But going back to the fantastic congressman from Texas, Al Green. Mm-hmm. He's always been on the front lines. Okay, he was on Democracy Now. And what I loved about that interview is not only did they interview him, but there were voicemails that he received. As I said before, he was one on the front line of being on the floor, talking about Donald Trump being impeached and making very pertinent points and very important points, factual points. And as a result, Donald Trump supporters, they actually, you know what they did, David?
What they do?
They left him voicemails and they threatened this man's life. And on Democracy Now, they actually sat down, they interviewed Congressman
Al Green.
They interviewed the guy, and they actually played the voicemails. And it's one thing for us to talk about it, it's one thing for us to listen, but let's go ahead and.
Hey, Al Green, we got an impeachment for you. It's going to be yours. In fact, we even give you a short trial before we hang your ass.
This is another one of the phone calls left on Congressman Al Green's voicemail.
You ain't going to impeach nobody, you Try it, and we'll lynch all you you'll be hanging from a tree. I didn't see anybody calling for the impeachment of your Obama when he was born in Kenya. He's not even an American. So you.
Congressman Green, these you got on your voice message machine?
We did, and they have been turned over to the Capitol Police. There will be an investigation. It is our hope that the persons who perpetrated this kind of ugliness will be caught and that they will be properly prosecuted. But I also said at the town meeting, and I will share again now, that this type of effort to intimidate will not stop what we are trying to accomplish. It won't thwart our efforts one scintilla. We will move forward.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you just saw it. Basically, this man's life was threatened by Trump supporters. I know a lot of people, a lot of Republicans, a lot of people in general say, well, there's crazy people on both sides of the aisle. There's crazy, that whole both sides argument. You got to understand, like, this is America. And that phone call was made in 2017, 2018. And that same phone call could have been made back since we got here. Well, there were no phones when we first got here, but back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, all the way to where we are now. So bottom line, fighting this battle with Trump, you have to be aggressive and you have to be strategic. Now, for the Democrats, especially members of the Congressional Black Caucus, you have to be smart with getting your evidence, knocking them down, and then being able to put the evidence to the American people. So when we impeach him, when he gets impeached, there's no pushback. And if it is pushback, then you say, hey, you give them examples like the one we just saw. So that's where the tape speaks for itself.
It speaks for itself, and I'm so elated that this congressman is stepping up to the plate. He's not on the sidelines. He's front and center. He's holding his ground, and he's always done that, regardless of the consequences. I respect this man, and he needs to continue to do what he's doing, and he has support, just like Donald J. Trump has his support. So that's why that video was it was extremely important.
And the other thing is that going back to the video is that the support for Al Green has to go beyond the black community. If you want change in this country, it has to go beyond that. White people can't be silent. You got to jump on it. And that's why I'm happy that the Congressional Black Caucus, and people have to understand the Congressional Black Caucus has the most power and the most members in positions of power than it's ever had. And this is the type of movement that Dr. King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, Rosa Parks, so many people in the civil rights movement, so many people that put their blood, sweat, and tears on the line, when they envision the black community having a say in this country, they were talking about now. Because a lot of folks don't realize when President Obama was in office, he didn't have the type of backing in the Congress that exists right now. You have Karen Bass, who's the chair of the CBC.
James Claiborne.
Yes, majority
South Carolina.
Whip. He's the majority whip, right? South Carolina.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Right, Democratic Caucus chair. Real quick, Democratic Caucus chair means that he has a fast track to possibly being Speaker of the House. Now, think about this. A black man from New York, he represents Brooklyn. Brooklyn, stand up. He represents Brooklyn. Could possibly be eventually in the future, the next 2 or 3 years, the Speaker of the House in Congress. And if
I don't know about that.
You don't know that's going to happen?
I don't know if that'll happen.
Well, let me tell you why.
Nancy Pelosi raises a lot of money.
Yeah, but she said she's leaving after 2 years. She said she'll do that on her own.
And I said I can fly. You don't see me going on top of a building, jumping off, do you?
Well, I haven't seen you try it. I haven't seen you try it yet. I don't know. You maybe. I don't know. I just haven't seen you try it yet. Anything's possible. Trump's in office. Anything's possible. So, and you also have LA's own Maxine Waters, who is the chair of the Financial Service Committee. Do you know what people? Let me explain what that means to you. Being the chair of the Financial Service Committee means you can go after Trump's tax returns. You can go after any financial discrepancies from shady people, whether it's Trump, whether it's people that work for Trump. All the financials that he's been hiding, they can look at. And that just doesn't go for him. That goes for businesses. That goes for businesses that have been hurting the black community.
But Congresswoman Maxine Waters, will she have the overall unified support to actually pull this off? And we know what Maxine is about. Mm-hmm. As far as her friends in Congress, will they step up to the plate with the same type of passion and energy that Maxine has and has displayed in the past? Will they do that to move the needle on the issues, on calling in the witnesses? Will they support Maxine Waters regarding the investigations? Because Maxine Waters cannot do it she cannot do it by herself. The Congressional Black Caucus, the CBC, they cannot do this by themselves. They cannot continue to challenge the Trump administration and make certain that every single bill that they pass and all the policies, how these policies and bills affect Black America, the black community, will they get help? Are they in it for themselves? Is it just the CBC with these issues? Is it just the CBC? Will they finally get the establishment Republicans to go ahead and move over? Will the far left Democrats, will they get the establishments to move over to the left a little bit? Will there be some type of agreement on all the issues? We just saw regarding Al Green. Now, he cannot be an isolated individual.
No, you're right.
I mean, other Democrats, privately, they say Donald Trump needs to be impeached. I mean, that's common sense. So the big picture, will the CBC receive support from other Democrats, the Democrats as a whole? Also, going back to Maxine Waters, we know what Maxine Waters is about. She is basically the modern-day Harriet Tubman. We love Maxine. We respect Maxine. Peace to Maxine Waters, a respectful shout-out.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that you said a lot. You said a lot, Will. The CBC have the pull, have the power, have the clout to do all the things as far as policy-wise to help the black community and push other agendas specifically that could help the black community. Point is, we've never been here, and I would say tentatively they're not going to be able to do all things, but they're going to be able to do a lot. And the reason why I say that is because, first of all, when you said will other Democrats have the same energy, the same fervor, the same type of feeling that Maxine Waters? First of all, there's only one Maxine Waters. They're gonna follow her, but they're not gonna have the same energy. They're not gonna have the same fight because she's been fighting this for so long, along with so many other members of the CBC. What I think what we're going to see is Maxine Waters, Elijah Cummings, leaders of the CBC, but push so many agendas that haven't been pushed the same way because we haven't been. It's different for someone speaking for you and then you speaking for yourself. And we've had so many people speak for us, and now we're speaking for ourselves. This is the first time. They've only been in office now for not even a week, maybe a week. When they sworn in 2 weeks ago. So it's only been a week and a half, 2 weeks. And really what's going to tell the telltale sign is what happens in the Senate. Because for what a lot of people don't know, the way our government works, the presidency, the Senate, and the House of Representatives, for the agenda for the black community and just for people in general, for people that are hurting, we need the Senate to support, and we need the presidency to support. We got one part of it. We have the House. Now we need the Senate, and we need to get Trump out of office so we can keep it moving. And Maxine Waters is a big part of that. And you spoke to that. I know you can speak to that a little bit more in what she's meant to, since you're from LA, what she's meant to LA.
I had the pleasure. I was lucky enough to actually meet Maxine Waters in Inglewood, California, at a veterans event. It was actually closing. It was the last day of this establishment being open. So I actually was on a date. I was on a date.
Okay.
So we went, and we went in. It was, ordered some water. And she said, "Eric, that looks like Maxine Waters." Mm-hmm. I said, "Well, okay." So anyway, make a long story short, it was Maxine Waters. She was speaking with a few people. I approached, introduced myself. I'm Eric Clark. Blah blah blah. And she sat down. I actually sat down. I spoke with her. Had fun. Spoke for a few moments, and it was great. It was fantastic. It was actually one of the biggest pleasures of my life meeting Maxine Waters. She's very down to earth. Very down to earth. She's very intelligent, very respectful, just great positive energy. And what I love about Maxine Waters from a political standpoint is no cut, no chaser. That's why young people call her Auntie Maxine, and she actually embraces that.
Right.
Just like other Congress members, like Al Green, she's been on the front line as well. She's always stood her ground, and she tells people how she actually feels, regardless of the consequences, regardless of the negative feedback or whatever, because she speaks from her heart, she speaks from her soul. She has just so much support on a personal level. I have many friends, David. You're from PG County,
right?
You're from the East Coast.
East Coast, right outside of D.C.
You're from right outside of D.C.
Outside of D.C.
But
yes.
Right here in Los Angeles, in Watts, there's a Maxine Waters Academy that helps many, and continues to help and has helped many, young black men and women obtain vocational skills, GEDs, high school diplomas, etc. So Maxine Waters is not only, when you see Maxine Waters, for those that just see clips of Maxine Waters and the different lives and that you will see on Fox News and the different Fox News crowds, you know how it is when you're afraid of someone, then you try to control the narrative.
Absolutely.
But nevertheless, Maxine Waters has done so much and has provided so many opportunities for the black community in Los Angeles, in Watts, in Compton, in the greater Los Angeles area, in California, in the United States, period. So Maxine Waters, she's all business, and she represents that branch of the government extremely well as a black woman.
So you basically answered the question that we posed. Like, if I didn't know about the vocational school. I didn't know anything about that. So she's been consistent on helping the black community.
It's on Central. As a matter of fact, it's right near the Nickerson Garden Projects.
Okay, there we go. So if she's been consistent in helping out the black community, and she's been consistent just like Al Green, and she's been consistent just like James Clyburn, then
South
Carolina, Deep South, then it would show that she'd be consistent now that she's in has this leadership role. I have a quick question. Go ahead. Now, when you saw Maxine Waters, were you like Eric Clark right now, Melanated Politics, or were you like Eric Clark? Like Eric Clark outside of Melanated Politics. Did you say, hello, Maxine? See, I don't have the voice. Hello, Maxine Waters. How was it?
I said, hello, Maxine Waters. I'm Eric Clark, Melanated Politics. No, but I did say, hello, Maxine, Eric Clark. It's a pleasure to meet you. And shook her hand. Like I said, it was one of the best experiences I ever had in my life, because I always respected Maxine Waters from a personal as well as a political perspective. Not only because she stands up to racism in this country. Okay, she's on the front line. Okay, in the U.S. House of Reps with respect to policies. She puts her money where her mouth is in the black community in Watts. So I have a lot of respect for Maxine. But see, Maxine is taken out of context. See, by us being black men, we know what that's like.
Absolutely.
But see, it's different. I would even go as far to say it's even more difficult when you're a black woman in certain instances.
Right. I agree with that.
They don't appreciate how Maxine, Congresswoman Maxine Waters speaks to them. They don't appreciate that. And they changed the narrative. Even when she said when you go out, make sure you exercise freedom of speech.
Yes.
That was taken out of context. So, what are your thoughts on Maxine Waters? As well as the CBC, since we're on the CBC.
Well, the question. I'm happy the Congressional Black Caucus has stayed together to get to this point. Again, being a political junkie, I understand that policy and setting the agenda is very important. And having, whether it's Maxine Waters, Elijah Cummings, Karen Bass, Al Green, Hakeem Jeffries, James Clyburn, Bobby Scott, and a load of new congressional members, and a lot of veteran congressional members having more of a say, having 53 members of Congress who are black. In having that say is so powerful, because we've never been there before. We haven't been there before as a community. So this is very different right now. This is a moment in history, just as big as President Obama being elected. A lot of people don't realize that, because I understand for the average person that doesn't follow politics and feels kind of like, man, this is not for me.
So going back to the original question, should black people trust the Democrats? Will there be other Democrats that step up to the plate, just like Maxine Waters, that say, you know what, I'm sick of it, I'm tired of it, no sugarcoating?
I think you'll see some, but you got to understand, you have to understand that nobody's going to have the type of a visceral emotion and fight as a Congressional Black Caucus because nobody has been through what we've been through as a people.
Agreed.
And so you can't expect Native Americans to this. Native Americans on the side. I know they've been through a lot. And unfortunately, they only have four representatives, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and that's a shame. But the Congress, there's no one that's been through what we've been through, so we're going to come out with a different tone. We're going to come out with a fight, and that's going to definitely stir up. We're going to make people like happy, but make people nervous at the same time.
On any level, can we do anything by ourselves?
We can't.
That's why I say we need others to join Congresswoman Maxine Waters. You recall when NBC actually had just some scenes and some wonderful, powerful words of.
Yes, go ahead.
You remember?
Words,
remember when they had that just the wonderful clips of Maxine Waters,
right?
And she just had so many great things she had to say,
right?
And that's why we highlight Maxine Waters at CBC. Right now, we have a phone call coming in, and welcome to Melanated Politics. Thank you for calling in.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing good. How you doing? How you brothers doing?
Doing well. Is this Mr. Altumer?
Hey.
No, this is Mr. Timothy Johnson.
Hi, Tim. Hey, Timothy Johnson. How's it going? Welcome to Melanated Politics. Thank you for calling in. Go ahead and speak your mind.
Yeah, I was calling in, just responding to the question of the day. You know, I've been following you guys since you started. And as far as on the blacks trusting the Democrats, I feel that's a no. I feel that we shouldn't trust them as a whole as far as the black congressional, the CBC, yes, we should trust them, but we weren't given any choices besides Republican and Democrat.
Okay.
So why should we trust that now that we have the Congressional Black Caucus? Now, if that was a field that we could actually vote for by itself alone and vote our people in, that would be way better.
Now, when you say black people should not trust the Democratic Party, do you say that with regarding the Democratic Party as a whole? Are there any candidates that you say we should support? Should black people give Democrats the benefit of the doubt? When I'm asking you, how much confidence do you have in the Democrats?
Well, you can only have enough confidence to say that they're going to do what they try to do, what they say they're going to try to do, but they haven't really accomplished nothing. Now, if they let the black folks lead the black folks as it's supposed to be and give us a choice,
I think that's a great point.
We would be better off.
Right, and see, I think that's one of the points I was trying to make, is that this is the first time in history that you have black people in leadership, not just as a side point or just for show. This is the first time we have black people in leadership, and so everything you're saying is right. Everything you're saying is right from the standpoint that the black community never had a choice, and I just go back to, this is America. America never. Black people choosing has never been a thing. That's why I kind of brought up Kennedy and Nixon, because neither of them really care about the black community. There really hasn't, been strong support to the black community. We pushed our way in there, and we pushed our way to this point where you have the CBC at leadership position. We've never been here before. So, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree, but do you feel like, if depending on how Congress goes, what bills gets passed, what's the topic of conversation, how the CBC flexes their clout, and also keep in mind we have to, going back to winning the Senate, because none of these bills are going to matter unless it goes through the Senate, and then it's signed in by the president being at the White House. If we get presidential change and Senate change, do you think this, the trust can start?
Well, the trust can definitely start if the CBC pushes their clout is one thing, for them accepting that clout being pushed is another. They have to start accepting the CBC as real leaders instead of just members.
Right. Agreed.
So when they start accepting them as leaders, then they can let them lead how the community, the black community, the minority community needs to be led. They're trying to lead it while allowing these black members to be part of their leadership.
You feel that's going on right now?
That's what they're trying to do. They need to open the door and let the CBC be its own entity.
Oh, you talking about
that the black folks can actually go to instead of the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. We need a party.
Oh, that's a deeper question.
You say black people in America, we need our own party. Is that the bottom line before we wrap it up?
Yes, we need our own party to go to, our own leadership to go to, not the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. We need our party, which should be the CBC.
So you heard it on Melanated Politics from the caller. Black people in America, we need our own party. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you,
Thank you for calling
Loved
in.
it. Loved the conversation. Loved it. Thank you.
Thank you.
He made some great points.
What do you think? As far as his just overall, bottom line, real quick.
Bottom line, what he was saying wasn't wrong. I felt where he was coming from. I know where he was coming from, and none of it was wrong. I'm not going to say I disagree wholeheartedly, but I'm just thinking how everything is going to work. How's everything going to work? Us being in this country, because we still are only 13-14% of this country, and if we have our own, if the CBC is, their own party, how would that look? I know how it making me feel, but how would it look like nuts and bolts? How would it look when we trying to get things done? Because we still have to go to the government for one way or another, and that's why I say I don't disagree with it, but just running everything on my mind, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Karen Bass, James Clyburn, Elijah Cummings, so many Democrats in the CBC. As I said, I'm not a Democrat, Republican, or independent, but I support many Democrats because they've stepped up to the plate, just like Maxine Waters. And I don't know if the caller, I don't know if he saw on NBC, I don't know if he saw that special on NBC. I don't know if he saw that or not. We do have a portion. Not only does Maxine Waters represent Los Angeles, not only does she represent the CBC and just the political spectrum with dignity overall, but she represents the dignity of black women and the reason why voting for black women is important. And that's why that when they showed that on the clips they showed on NBC, that's why I loved it. We do have a small portion that they focused on Maxine Waters on NBC, and let's just go ahead and check it out.
Affected communities to join him in meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, I crashed the party. I went to the White House uninvited.
Thank you for your compliments about how great I am, but I don't want to waste my time on me.
Well, as you know, I'm supporting the ticket, and I'm pleased about the possibility that they will be in the White House. But as I have said before, it is the last time that I will support two white males for president and vice president.
I am not running for anything except the impeachment of Trump.
As a matter of fact, I've said over and over again, I think he's the most deplorable person I've ever met in my life.
They need to go to jail. Bill O'Reilly needs to go to jail.
I have not called for the impeachment yet. He's doing it himself.
And I resent the remark about making America great again. He's down here making a speech for this dishonorable president of the United States of America. Having said that, I reserve the balance of my time. And no, I do not yield not 1 second to you.
You can say it with me, ladies and gentlemen, or I can say it by myself. Maxine, 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 Maxine. You heard it for yourself. Join the party. Should black people trust the Democratic Party?
Okay, I'm going to give you some numbers just real quick. I'm a numbers guy. I'm a geek in some ways. The number of white men grew in the Republican Party by from 86% to 90% this last Congress.
I get that. But are the Democrats going to address the generational wealth gap between blacks and whites in this country / income inequality as well?
The numbers say they need to. In the congressional black, like what Tim said, it's the first time congressional black caucus has been in control. So
okay.
Are we gonna see it?
As a party, are the Democrats going to address the widespread denial of white privilege in this country? Yes or no?
Not today.
I mean, are the Democrats going to hold police departments and district attorneys' offices accountable for the murder of women like Sandra Bland, for the murder of men like Eric Gardner, for the murder of children like Tamir Rice? Are the Democrats going to push even further to hold these people accountable? Are the Democrats going to do that? Are the Democrats finally going to equate the opioid crisis in white communities to the drug crisis in the black communities that have affected the black communities for years via Bill Clinton 25 to life, 3 strikes laws? Are the Democrats going to go ahead and say, you know what, let's have empathy for the black community, people that are unfortunately are going through the drug crisis with no jail time, okay, with treatment, and with education and with another chance? Will the same empathy be dedicated to the African American community, equated to the whites regarding democratic policies? Is that something they're going to push for? I mean, there's so many things that we can unwrap that are really core issues that actually affect the black community, not just now. Last year, last month, 20 years ago, next year. Let's have a real conversation about should black people trust the Democrats. Peel the scab off.
Here's the truth of the matter. Everything you said is true. Will they address the privilege and all that? I don't see that happening. But as far as the police brutality,
we know what Jeff Sessions.
I'm glad you brought up Jeff Sessions, because President Obama put in. Hold real quick. We gotta say this. President Obama put in policy put a little check and balances on the police. But you know who pulled it back was Jeff Sessions.
Okay, but now the Democrats they're in charge of the U.S. House of Representatives. What are they going to do to now affect everything that's been going on, despite Jeff Sessions and his obvious racist policies and taking President Obama's name off of everything that they ever could see?
Like I said before, we need the House of Representatives is one body. We need the Senate and we need the presidency. And unless you have all three, you're not going to see any change. And that's why it's important for people to, if you don't like what's going on, if you really hate what's going on, and you're pissed and you're just mad and you're frustrated, that means you have to go out and vote. Make sure you get the right Senate candidates. Make sure you so Democrats can have all three. Because here's the thing, you can't do it unless you have all three. You can't do it. It's great that the Congressional Black Caucus has control, but it won't do anything unless you get Mitch McConnell out.
They can never pay back. Never pay back the torture of runaway slaves and African American ancestors in this country whose descendants built this country with blood, sweat, and tears with no compensation whatsoever. Not one mule, two mules in 40 acres. Okay, never compensated. Okay, that's a fact. Period, point blank. You know, so will the Democrats push for reparations? I started off by saying they can never pay us back, but since everyone else got paid, and we can talk, we don't have enough time right now to go off into that, but other groups were paid for the atrocities that were bestowed upon them. But nevertheless, the builders of America, African slaves, will the Democrats push for reparations? Also, you mentioned Native Americans earlier. Will they give land? Will the Democrats push to give land back to the Native Americans that were here 12,000 years before the first Europeans? 200 million individuals that were through the act of genocide via the U.S. government. Will the Democrats push to give them land back? I mean, where are the Democrats at on these issues? I mean, everything that I said, I'm positive that people care about this stuff. People care about this stuff. These are issues. These are reasons why people don't trust the government. These are reasons why people don't trust Republicans, Democrats, or independents.
Here's the truth. Democrats aren't going to push reparations, and Democrats aren't going to push
giving back land to the Native Americans.
They might push that before. Believe it or not, they may push that before reparations. But
okay.
let me just say this really quick. America. When you talked about Bill Clinton and the crime bill, I'm just going to be real quick. A lot of people don't understand that started with Nixon in the war on crime, then extended with Reagan, then it's extended to Iran-Contra when you have Reagan push drugs into the here in L.A. Reagan pushed that. You couldn't get elected as a president unless you were not locking up black people.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to tell you is that the Democratic Party is flawed. The Democratic Party is not perfect. The Democratic Party will not put all the things that you just explained. I'm just being honest. Will not put all the things that you talked about on the agenda. But does
that mean those issues do not matter to the Democrats if they don't put them on the table? Let me ask you this: is education important?
Absolutely. Education
is. Does the educational system in the United States need to be improved?
That's a longer conversation. Yes, but okay. I'm gonna go one step deeper. It needs to be improved for us because
it needs to be improved for us.
Because you know what, the education right now is stacked against the black community. That's why.
Going back, should black people trust the Democrats? Are the Democrats going to push as far as educational curriculum in this country? For example, are they going to push the facts? Before there was a Greece, before there was a Rome, before there was a Great Britain, before there was anything called the United States, there were indigenous, melanated, dark-skinned people living hundreds of thousands of years ago on all 7 continents. Will the Democratic Party push those facts with respect to their educational curriculum?
And the answer to that is no. What they'll do, what they're going to do is they'll probably let certain school boards and certain counties, if that's what they want their curriculum to be. Yeah, but America's not ready for that, for the public education. No, they're not ready for that. They're nowhere near ready for that. They're right now where America is right now. And when I say America, I'm talking about white America. Where white America is right now is caught between a rock and a hard place. They got this guy Trump in office who's the biggest embarrassment ever. They have an economy that's not. There's so many people that's unemployed and getting laid off. There's so many things going on in white America where it's like, okay, what options do they have?
We have platforms now, though. What will the Democratic Party do with their platform? Will they continue to speak truth to power? We've referred to so many Democratic leaders, so many members of the CBC, so many issues, the tone and message from the Democratic Party. Should black people trust the Democrats? Positive, maybe even negatives regarding the CBC. Okay, so the Democrats need to continue to speak truth to power. Okay, and we need to continue to have Democratic people in the U.S. House of Reps, in the Senate, in all branches of governments, locally, nationally, etc., step up to the plate, as well as those that are affected by these policies that affect the African American community. One more thing. As far as taking advantage of a platform, now our viewers they already saw Al Green.
Yes.
They've already saw Maxine Waters.
Yes.
Which I'm pretty sure a lot of us are familiar with.
Right.
But Nina Turner, the former senator from Ohio, mm-hmm.
You
remember she was on CNN?
Oh yeah, I remember. And I'm familiar with Nina Turner being that I lived in Detroit. She
spoke with a Republican analyst on CNN. Nina Turner, now she holds people accountable, and she's a great representation of how politicians and those that are activists need to step up to the plate and hold these people accountable. Nina Turner was one of my favorites. For the record, we love and we respect Nina Turner.
We absolutely do.
When she was on CNN, as I said, she held. It was a panel, but it was one specific Republican analyst that she held accountable for her rhetoric. And let's go ahead and show our viewers just a small portion of that.
Examples would you like me to give you about how this country specializes in that?
This is not a great pitch.
16, 19. Next year, 1919, it'll be 400 years since the first Africans were brought to this continent as slaves. So it's not a pitch, it's a reality in this country. And the fact that you're taking such a cavalier attitude about the suffering of black and brown people in this country is appalling.
No, it's not.
It's absolutely appalling. Are you trying to say that this country does not specialize in racism and bigotry?
I am saying that racism exists. I am saying that the United States of America
but you have the luxury. You have the luxury to be cavalier about it. But my folks don't have the luxury of being cavalier about it.
Listen, I think the fact
your point.
No, you don't understand my point because you never lived a day in my shoes or the shoes of my ancestors. This is not a political pitch. This is reality.
Mary Catherine, finish your point, and then Joey.
What I'm being cavalier about is something I think we all agree about, which is that the United States of America is the freest country on the face of the earth and gives the
with
most
all kinds
opportunity.
Of oppression.
I know that, but gives the most opportunity possible to brand us as
you're
only
talking
the
about
other
this through a political
lens.
I'm talking about this through a light lens.
The saddest thing is that we have a president who plays on this division instead of playing.
Nina Turner, ladies and gentlemen, if you've never seen her before, she's amazing. Listen, I'm gonna be real quick. That video was so powerful because she said what I think the majority, if not 100%, but I know there's some that's flaky. Some black folks out there ain't flaky that don't agree with her, but I know she speaks for 99.9% of black people with what she said, and our agenda being looked over, our experiences being looked over, and I think she just talked perfectly and spoke perfectly with passion. Speaking for the black community in that tone, in that way.
Well, I agree with her that, and that lady never could imagine living in Nina Turner's shoes, and for her to be so insensitive was something that definitely needed to be called out. So, another applause for former Senator from Ohio, Nina Turner.
Another black woman like Maxine Waters, of course, sisters out there doing it.
Should black people trust the Democratic Party? That has been the discussion. Pay attention to the Congressional Black Caucus going into 2019 and on Melanated Politics. We will continue to not only talk about these issues, continue to tune in. We will be discussing current issues that affect the black community in America and locally. So continue to tune in regarding that.
And also, just keep in mind, I want to just say this real quick. The LA teachers are going on strike. So when we talk about the black community, there's a lot of teachers that aren't getting paid because they're not given the equipment and the tools that they need to teach our community.
Okay.
And that's what's
happening right now.
I'm glad
you brought that up.
That's what's happening right now. So here on Melanated Politics, we're going to get on so many different topics locally and nationally, and there's going to be different topics every week. You might hear Eric and I go back and forth. You hear us all the time go back and forth, but all of it's going to be poignant and fact-based. I repeat, fact-based. We have our opinions, but believe me, it's all of it is fact-based. So, I want to say thank you.
Melanated, original melanin, melanated, and politics, which we don't define as Democrats, Republican, independents. Melanated politics, and politics specifically, is defined as war without bloodshed. Thank you so much for tuning in. I would like to give a special shout out to my dear friend Al Toomer, whose mom passed away, Mrs. Toomer. Al Toomer is the reason why I'm sitting in this chair right now. And he's a dear friend of mine. Along with our producer, Sheena, along with the one and only Poetess. On behalf of Morris Media, Rest in peace, Miss Toomer. Al Toomer, you hanging there, my dear friend. To everyone else, thanks again for tuning in to Melanated Politics. Subscribe to Morris Media. Continue to check us out every Friday, 12 o'clock noon, where we will always break it down like an improper fraction and peel the scab off. For David Harper from Washington, from the D.C. area, I'm Eric Clark from Compton, California. Melanated Politics. Peace. We're out.